Welcome back to the Cash Flow Project. If you are here listening or watching us for the first time, welcome. Our goal here at the Cash Flow Project is to empower the next generation of entrepreneurs. We sit down and talk to local businesses in the northern Colorado area to get insight on how they worked from the ground up and try to educate ourselves how we too can be entrepreneurs. Today, we have the opportunity to speak with one of the greatest individuals that we could speak with about entrepreneurship. You guys, this individual has founded several businesses, being Robert Oilfield Services and Microcap Marketing, and works closely with her community as the Director of Community Partnerships and Impact, and also as an Assistant Professor of Entrepreneurship at the Montfort College of Business. We are so excited and privileged to have you here with us, Rachel Roberts. Woo-hoo!
Yay! Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. We are so excited. Could you begin by telling us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So how far back should I go?
I mean, you can just start with like what you're currently doing.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I am, as you said, a Director of Community Partnerships and Impact here at MCB at UNC. I actually started in August, so I'm a relatively new assistant professor and director, but I've been in the community for a long time. So before being at UNC, I was assistant director of the Institute for Entrepreneurship at CSU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I know our northern Colorado space pretty well, and I live just over in Severance, so really is more my community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So definitely very knowledgeable with the northern Colorado area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been like the biggest thing with the transition from CSU to UNC?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think probably I know our students better here. It's a lot smaller class sizes, so I actually get a chance to meet and get to know students, get a feel for what interests them, what do they want to do for their careers. So, part of my jobs over the years, especially being in Colorado, has been really, building a network and an ecosystem across the state, which has been fantastic. And now I feel like I actually am getting to know students well enough that I can make connections within that network, which is really special.
Yeah. I think we all appreciate that because I feel like with the professors and students, it's kind of disconnected.
Really? Yeah. That's good to hear.
So it's nice that you're putting yourself out there for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the best part of the job. So.
Yeah, that's very sweet. We need more professors like that. Yeah. And so what led you to like get involved, with the entrepreneurship in SCSU and now at UNC?
Yeah, that's a great question. So probably because I'm an entrepreneur. I never would have considered myself an entrepreneur if you would have asked me all these years ago. But I've always had that little bit of the entrepreneurial itch, if you will. So when I was younger, I would bake horse cookies and I'd sell them at horse shows. I'm a big equestrian, a competitive equestrian. And then I'd use that money to pay for some of my show entries. And then when I was in undergrad in Washington, D.C., I started working for a very early stage startup in the pet care services. And so I would go and I'd walk people's dogs. Eventually I moved up to training dogs. And that was fantastic and gave me a lot of financial freedom and really cool insights into what it could be like to run my own business. But I went to work for corporate America because, that's the dream that we're told we're supposed to go. So I did that, and I was in marketing, and I really just wasn't passionate about what I was doing. I was good at what I was doing, but I didn't have the drive. I kept coming home every day going, what am I doing here? I don't even like this job. I'm good at it, but I'm not enjoying my time. And what we do for work, like that takes so much time. And so if you really don't enjoy what you're doing, then you're spending a good majority of your adult life not having a good time or not, feeling fulfilled. And so I went back to grad school. And while I was there, I focused at George Washington University on entrepreneurship, marketing, and small business management. And I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I figured it was something in either the small business or entrepreneurial space. And it was during that time that I started my first company, Soups in the City. which turned into actually a really cool farm share programs in and around the Washington, D.C. area. So, it was a really long, weird path to get there. But really, it was, I learned that I could, there was a lot more negotiations in the business process. And I really liked that I could think of something, create it, build it, and see it to fruition. That was really cool. And I got to do things the way that I felt had the biggest impact, which was really important to me.
Right. Yeah. No, that is important.
Yeah.
You want to be doing something that feels like more of a chore than it does a passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I wouldn't have said growing up that, my passion is business, or entrepreneurship. But now that I've, almost nearing 40, I've had lots of experiences that I just love the space. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And, just how you were saying earlier, finding that balance of, okay, in corporate world, like, is this really what I want? Am I actually feeling passionate? And it could be something that a lot of people feel stuck in. So what would you say to those people that kind of feel, stuck and like are scared to take that leap to do something that they're actually passionate for?
Yeah, fortune favors the bold. If you're not happy, if you're not enjoying your current circumstance, then it's 100% within your power to do something about that. And I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling joy in what I was doing. And so it was scary. It was hard. I, still sometimes I'm like, did I make the right choice in life? Right. And now I can say confidently I did. But, you got to take a first step and try. You'll never know. You won't know. And for me, entrepreneurship has meant financial freedom. It's meant that, I've been able to build my husband and I together have built a very comfortable nest egg for our family. My kids won't have to, potentially worry about if they need to take out loans to do something one day. And that was very important for us to be able to do that. And, had I been on that traditional career path, I wouldn't have been anywhere close to where we are right now, but on the same thread, we had to put a lot of risk and sacrifice on the line for that. So it really is, it just depends on, what you want out of life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You create your own happiness.
You do. Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit, we know I have the privilege to have you as a professor for entrepreneurship. And so one of my questions is, as an entrepreneurship professor, what do you see in your students that will be like a great character trait or something that will turn out for them to be great entrepreneurs?
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite questions that you guys had listed. I absolutely love it. I would say, and I thought a lot about this, I could say all the traditional, grit, perseverance, dedication, passion. But honestly, for me, I think it's curiosity. Entrepreneurs, we recognize we don't know everything and that we're going to need help along the way. And so the more comfortable a student is asking questions, even if it's uncomfortable or it makes them feel awkward, or let's say, because, we're all different, right? Maybe you're a little more introverted, you don't feel comfortable speaking up in a group setting. I'll have those students come seek me out at office hours or, stop me in the hallway to be like, hey, could we talk about this? I have questions. I want to think through things and I need extra, brain power. And I just love that because I think that's, in essence, the entrepreneurial mindset, and we talk about this in class, right? It's strategic problem solving.
Yeah.
And you can't strategically problem solve if you're not asking questions along the way. And so, the more curious, the more, dedicated to keep going. And the more you find, the less you realize and the more you're willing to search out and build something. I think that really helps build something really unique and sustainable.
Yeah.
I think that's well beautifully said, to be honest, because a lot of entrepreneurs struggle to find what they're doing rather than asking why.
Yeah.
And asking a bunch of mentors around them for better advice or something that they did wrong and wants to help other entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's scary to be vulnerable and just ask.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
It absolutely is. And I feel like that's the feeling of entrepreneurship 90% of the time, is feeling incredibly vulnerable, imposter syndrome, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And just not really sure that you know what you're doing.
Right.
And
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
At any point in your career, did you feel scared?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so many
How did
times.
you overcome that feeling?
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I consistently, constantly feel scared. No. No. So when I graduated undergrad, it was right in the middle of the 2008-2009 recession, the Great Recession.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had, all of this potential and prospects, and all of a sudden the world stopped turning and every opportunity went out the window. And so what I had imagined for my life didn't seem like it was going to happen. I went from having, 3 solid opportunities on the table with competitive pricing to scrambling to find somebody to pay me, to hire me to do a job. And that was just, it was a real big blow, because I've always been I try hard. You know what I mean? I get good grades. I try hard. I now say I'm a recovering perfectionist, but that really hit my ego hard. And I ended up going to work for a company called CDW, large IT sales.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing a sales competition for them right now.
Yep.
CDW.
Yep. I was terrified. I was in my department and my floor. Was the only woman on a 50-person team. Over time, we got a couple more in there, but I was the only one. It was just very intimidating, and I just got up every day, pushing forward. I found good people in my corner, and you just keep going, and but it's been consistently, and I feel every business that I've started and run, I have felt immensely terrified. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Am I going to be able to pay people tomorrow? I have to pay them. Will I still have money to pay myself? Okay, I do. Great. Uh-oh. It feels too good to be true. Everything's working right. What's wrong? Is there something else I should be thinking of, you know? So, yeah, I think it's just a constant, a mental war with yourself over trust the process, and, acknowledge the fear as well, because it helps, keep your instincts strong.
Yep.
And doing the checks and balances that are needed.
Yeah. Well, I'm really liking our conversation right now.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Me too.
And I mean, speaking of those businesses that you opened, we'll go into detail. So first one is Robert's Oilfield Services. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, that was a really interesting opportunity. So that was the most recent company that my husband and I took over and eventually sold. And so we actually bought a oil and gas business that was declining. We had aging leadership team that had no succession plan. A whole host of different challenges popped up for them that essentially led it to the fact that they basically needed to offload this company and quickly as possible, because at this point it was starting to drain retirement funds and their ability to continue to go on. And so we bought this company. We did a lot of due diligence. And so, if for those who may not know the terminology, we did a company turnaround, which if you think about house flipping, like we went in, we bought a house, and we revamped it, we flipped it, and we sold it at a profit. It's the same exact thing, but you do that with companies. It's called a company turnaround.
Wow.
And now we didn't know that's what we were doing when we bought it. We just saw an opportunity. I know nothing about oil and gas, to be, full disclosure, I know nothing about the space. And quite frankly, it's a very challenging industry to work in as a woman founder. Very challenging, very male dominated, and a lot of older men that have been in this space a long time have always done it a certain way and will not deviate no matter how hard you try. But my husband and my father-in-law, who was our, key advisor in the business, and who helped us identify the opportunity, both had long, long histories in the oil and gas space. My father-in-law actually started his own company in the oil field tool service space, which is what Roberts Oilfield Services was, but different subset of tools. And he built his own company up and eventually took it public. And so what you see now as KLX Energy is his company. So his former company before he sold it. So we had good leadership and we had good mentors. And, so we basically bought this organization. We did a lot of due diligence. We talked to a lot of people, current employees, current customers. And basically what it came down to was, no one had really, after some of their core founding team had passed away, no one had come by to check on them, to replace tools. And so while we were buying inventory that looked damaged and broken and junky, in reality, we just had to do, a lot of hard labor to clean it all up and get it situated. And we met with different clients. We changed the pricing model. So part of this company was we bought a unique technology that was patented. And so that came with the company, which is really cool. The challenge is that when you have something that's completely new, people don't understand the value of it. So you have to kind of teach them the value of it, which can be really expensive and timely. So it's really like thought leadership. So you need to basically show that you're the person who knows what they know and that you should really be the trusted resource for this. And so we essentially went on this 6-month information campaign working with existing and new customers to hands-on stop by, their place, hand deliver tools. We brought breakfast burritos and pizza and tchotchkes, and then we taught them how they could find new ways to charge with this type of tool. So the challenge for the old company was all their customers, the service providers, could see was we are now going from a 5-week job down to a 2 to 3 week job. So we're losing 2 to 3 weeks of pay that we would have normally got for our team. And so what we had to do was teach them that, no, that's okay. That's actually a good thing because you can charge more for those 2 to 3 weeks than you did for the full 5. And now it still opens up your team, your resources to be able to do more work. But it just wasn't intuitive. You think and to be fair, I understand their perspective. It's something new, and these are really expensive sites that if anything happens or there's damage or, who foots the bill on that and who's going to take the liability. So it was fascinating experience in company turnarounds and the high cost of growth. I'm sorry if I'm off topic. I just
No. I'm processing it.
Yeah.
How long did you have the company for before you sold it?
Yeah, great question. About 2 years. So that was pretty speedy for a company turnaround. But as we got into it and we realized, again, we go back to how much time do you want to spend doing a thing, right? And both my husband and I, we were able to recognize that this was truly a wonderful opportunity that could be a life-changing opportunity for our family. We really didn't love it. We didn't like the space. The industry is very difficult, and this is an industry that is has high highs and low lows. It's secular, so it goes up and down. It has ebbs and flows, and we were at the precipice of a peak that was ready to kind of come on a downturn. So we basically saw this opportunity and said, we either are in this for the long haul for the next 5+ years, and we come through this downturn and then back on the upside, so probably maybe close to 10 years, or we take as much market share as we can as quickly as possible, and we, grow this thing as fast as possible, and make ourselves a really annoying, attractive option for someone to buy out.
Yeah. So how did you bring the clients in?
Yeah. So we worked with existing clients, and then we continued to network out from there. A lot of what we did was, quite frankly, very simplistic. I mean, yes, we had a unique technology, but it almost did us more harm than good in a lot of ways, just because it was so challenging to figure out how to communicate it out. But really, our entire business model was built on quality customer service. And and that was pretty much it, quality customer service. And then with that quality customer service, that word of mouth spreads pretty quickly. And so we had customers that would find a customer here that would grow something there. And then, we went from being in 2 states when we bought it to, by month 3, we were in 4 states. And then by month 6, we were in 9 different states. And, within a year, we were operating in Alaska and in the Gulf of Mexico and offshore drilling. And so we just tried to expand as quickly as possible, knowing that we wanted to essentially, when the market was ready to roll up, we wanted to be a prime niche target. And having that unique proprietary technology also with the customer group who actually understood it was a huge benefit. And so, so it was actually our primary top customer that ended up buying the first half of our company. And then the second half we sold to our primary top competitor.
Wow. Good for you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It was actually funny because when we started talking with our customers, they were like, oh my gosh, we thought you were going to raise the prices on us again. We weren't sure. You were going to, sell out to somebody and we're going to lose everything. So, that really got us thinking and we want to start these negotiations. And that was fantastic for us because it put us right in a good spot. Because as an entrepreneur, if you have someone bite, then it's a lot easier to get more bites.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just...
That story is just crazy how, it was able to work out, thankfully. And, also for the customers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard though. I mean, my husband and I put a lot on the line and it was really, scary. We put our own nest egg on the line to build the business and took a gamble. And again, educated guesswork gamble, we did a lot of work to make sure we felt comfortable with the gamble. But at the end of the day, it's still very risky. And had the market not done what we thought it was going to do in the time frame we thought, then we could have either lost money, a lot of money, or not even had an opportunity at all. We could have just been sitting, holding this unique proprietary technology as it slowly fizzled out on a shelf.
That's definitely also shows how you have to just take that jump, take that risk, and then hope for the best.
You really do. I know. Well, and the cool thing is you can figure it out as you go. That's part of it, right? It's have a really good guesswork foundation and then just get going and you're going to learn a lot on the way. And there's nothing ever set in stone. You can adjust. You can fix it. Yeah.
So how did you navigate competing with competitors around the area?
Specifically in our customer service, really, honestly.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we went around to a lot of different people in the area, and the biggest thing was, I haven't seen or talked to someone from this company in over a year. Some people that we had spoken to, they hadn't heard from anyone from that rep in 2 years. And then meanwhile, we have some of our stiffest competition, and they're there 2 to 3 days a week popping in just to say, hey, and, just anything you need. And in an industry where it's urgent when it's, it's kind of hurry up and wait, our tools are designed if things go wrong. So you hope things never go wrong, but when they do, they go wrong right now, right away, and you need immediacy.
Oh, wow.
And so if we weren't there or we even needed to take 12 hours where someone else could take 1 hour, we would lose out in contracts. And so what we did was we created standby rates and basically had tools of an inventory available to them in a certain quantity at all times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that you guys were in different states. How did you navigate having consistency with the customer service across the board?
It was so challenging. Let go all of, the legal and sales tax and financial components that make it really challenging. That was my job to manage those pieces. we had to hire part-time employees that we trusted really well, that essentially we worked with individuals. When our main part-time employee was a firefighter. And so that was his passion, but he was happy to take, and do this as his kind of side job.
Yeah.
And so it worked out really well. And because, he's very strong because he's a fireman, he could handle a lot of the weight capacity of tools and things like that. And so it just, we found really good partners and part-time employees in specific regional areas. And then basically what we would do is we'd have like a storage location where then they could go and, serve people from that, so they didn't have to be traveling 24/7 around the country.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of traveling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And expensive.
Yes, for sure.
Moving on to microcap.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about microcap and marketing and how it started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started Microcap Marketing was my second company after I sold my first company and moved from Washington, D.C. to Colorado. And so Microcap Marketing essentially is a boutique marketing consulting firm that's focused on providing operational excellence, growth marketing, and then investor outreach and relations. And so essentially what we do is we work with small, medium-sized businesses that are basically that are nano through microcap, basically saying that you're in a growth phase in your company. So small, medium-sized businesses that are trying to grow both their operations, but also potentially in capital. And so having worked with investors before in many different spaces and just kind of understanding that process, which can be a really arduous one and a very thankless one. That was one of the areas that I eventually ended up evolving the marketing firm into. And so I think when, it wasn't a traditional marketing in the sense of, we're helping you with your building your marketing plans and things, we were helping with strategy, but really in terms of how do you get yourself operationally where you need to be and in a marketing and growing where you need to be attractive to an investor.
So it was all like a consultant area where you have clients and like their businesses and then you like partner with them and kind of expand their business?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly. And so specifically if they're looking or they think they're going to need any kind of outside funding, that's where we would come in and really work with them.
That's very cool. That's actually been something I want to do after I graduate.
It's an awesome space. It's very fun.
I want to help so many businesses out there.
Yeah, I love that. And that's honestly how I got into educating, because when I started the company, I started it because I wanted to help really early stage entrepreneurs get off the ground. And I was so excited about that. And then probably month 1 of operating, I realized that those are the individuals that have $0 to spend on anything like that. And so I had to pivot my business model to focus on more established companies, going a different entrepreneurial focusing on a different part of the entrepreneurial journey. But I still really love the early stage space. And so being able to come back as a professor and help people, guide people so they don't make the same pitfalls or mistakes that I made, or so they know how to navigate the path that's, hidden. I really love that.
Thank you for that. I think what you did in the past and what you're doing now is very impactful for students.
Yeah,
or
I hope
entrepreneurs
so.
in general.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share it. It's that's how I learned, my path for entrepreneurship is by working with others and learning from others and getting connected and just figuring it out. And so, yeah,
for sure. And so how do you, when you were doing microcap marketing, how did you prioritize tasks and manage time between client work, marketing your own business, and then, and all the other responsibilities that come with owning a business?
Great question. Full disclosure, not well. I was in my mid and late 20s. I basically became a workaholic. This became my baby. I ate, breathed, and slept in the confines of this business. There were weeks where I was putting in 80 to 100 hours, and I was feeling so much passion and excitement and stress. And so it wasn't sustainable. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And I burnt out several times pretty quickly, and that put a damper on things, especially when it's your primary source of, making ends meet. And so then,
Right.
you have to kind of tiptoe carefully on that line because it's so much easier to just take a breath and take a break than it is to come back from burnout. Burnout takes a really long time to come back from. And so I just didn't do a very good job at it. I said everything is important. So I have to do all of it. I have to do it all 110%, and it has to all be done right now. And it really it didn't work that way. And so, yeah.
Did you ever have a support group though? Like, how come you always felt burnt out during the time?
Yeah. I did. But again, we were all burning out together. I'll say it that way. We were all struggling and burning out together. But, I did find some good strategies through it all. A big one for that was, it sounds simple and silly, but just having everything in a calendar blocked out, and to the point where I'll even schedule if I have a really big project or a meeting or something coming up and I need to prep for it, I'll block that like a meeting on my calendar just so I have that contextual clue of like, oh, nope, sorry, it's 10 o'clock. I have to switch gears. I have to do this thing now.
Okay, I should start doing that because I feel like I do random projects throughout the day.
Yeah. And it's hard too because it's, I don't know about for you, but for me, my brain doesn't just switch tasks that easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I need strategies, and like I'd go walk outside just because sometimes the wind, hitting my face could help me just, okay, we're going to let that go so we can focus on this now. But it's hard.
Yeah. I
so
think
hard.
it's like the ambition that kind of eats you.
Yeah.
But you need to find that balance.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Because, ambition's a great thing, but in too much quantity, it's not. Yeah. And, it's interesting because in my businesses previously in my career, I always had a boss. I always had some form of leadership saying, here's your goalpost, here's the milestone, here's when I need you to hit this by. I had autonomy to do my job my way, but I still had very clear timelines set by someone else that was like, here's what you're going to do when, and here's how how much I need by when. And as an entrepreneur, it was me just kind of saying, oh, well, I have to figure all that out, and I have to still do the thing at the same time.
Right.
And I'm not sure what's reasonable or not. There's no playbook in place. It just was a whole nother layer of intensity that I didn't plan for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to balance it out, especially as an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What piece of advice would you give to those who, are maybe struggling to find that balance, between work and personal life?
Yeah. It's a great question. I would say find like what fills your cup up now. Figure out what gets you, what is your side thing that you do? It could, mine is I go ride my horse, or I play video games, or I read, or I listen to a podcast, and I go hike in the mountains where no one can find me. You know what I mean? I find these little things that really work for me, and then I make a point to put those in my schedule of what I'm going to do. So, and now that I have kids, it's like a whole nother layer, but I've already had those habits in place of saying, I've done X amount of this for my school this week. So I need to do X amount of this for my life this week so that I continue to come back on Monday feeling ready and excited and fresh.
Right. Taking care of yourself too.
Yeah. Taking care of yourself. Like you can't take care of anyone else or do anything else until you take care of you.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of, remembering that, and that we're all human and that that's okay. I think is the important part. I used to feel so guilty when I would take vacation or get sick. I felt like I needed to like apologize and be like, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm letting the team down today.
No.
And but that's how that's how I would feel, because I think that mentality comes when you start your own business and then you start like paying for other people, or not paying other people to help you. Then all of a sudden you have this feeling of like, I have lives that I'm responsible for.
I actually understand that. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're literally giving them food and shelter.
Yes, yeah. And then you're like, well, if I don't push and if I don't do this, then it's not just me. Now it's me, it's them, it's my family, it's all these extra layers where you're just like, oh my gosh.
So have you ever had a situation where you find yourself doing a lot more work than other people, and you like have told them repeatedly, like, this is a group effort?
Unfortunately, yes. Many times.
How did it come about, or what did you do?
Yeah, great question. It happens all the time, both in as my time as a student, in my careers, to this day, it happens. In parenting, like literally, especially as a woman, I feel like we will experience this probably more, that feeling. But the best thing that I have found for this is to have very clear, doesn't need to be mean, can be kind, but very clear, direct communication solves a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah. And, sometimes people just don't know they need to step up, and having a frank conversation, letting them know, hey, we all have things going on, but right now I'm taking on 40% of the workload. You're only doing 20% of the workload. We have others sharing. So when you choose to not do this, you're putting more on me, which is causing me stress, and quite frankly, isn't fair. You know what I mean? And just having those. And I also like the compliment sandwich makes me feel better about being direct. It's like, hey, I love your work. It's going, you're doing, I appreciate what you are doing. What we could work on, though, is some of this, rebalance of workload. Here's what I think it could look like. Yeah. But again, I just want to say, we really need you on the team because you're an important piece of this.
Yeah.
So it kind of just, for me, I think I used to wait and hope that either my work ethic would carry me through, or that people would just suddenly, realize how much it would take and that they would rise to the occasion.
Right.
And I'm not saying that people are doing it intentionally. Half the time I have realized people don't even really realize. They think they're doing an incredible job.
Right.
And they have no idea that they're just not at the same operational level as everyone else around them. And so, I don't know, empathy and directness. But also, most importantly, the directness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
The complimentary sandwich.
Yeah. It has taken me a really long time to actually be able to do that, though, I will say. You know what I mean? It's just such an awkward, uncomfortable thing. And so even, I'm going to turn 38 this year, and I still struggle with it. So just, it sounds easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Also, you do not look like you're 38.
Nope.
You look way younger. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a work in progress, day by day thing for sure.
Oh, totally.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's totally hard. Yeah.
And now moving on to some more questions based on the community, being connected with the community and school that you've done some of that work.
Love it.
What kind of activities have you organized for MCB to encourage entrepreneurship?
Ooh, great question. Yeah. So I help host eWeek in the fall. So Entrepreneurship Week.
Yeah.
So we bring in every day, we have a different speaker from community that comes in and teaches us something about either business entrepreneurship or soft skills, professional skills. And so I help host that. I also host our innovation talks. So that's really focused on our undergrad community as well, but we tend to have a lot of our graduate students, faculty, staff, and community come to those. Those are usually, we pick a business topic an entrepreneurial business topic, and then we have
yeah.
multiple guest speakers, panels, people come in to kind of illuminate the space. This most recent one, we talked about funding and fundraising.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty hot topic right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Everyone's kind of scrambling. We're not sure what's going on. And so having, experienced people who are out there doing it right now come and talk to us about what they're experiencing and what they're preparing for was really helpful and how they're navigating.
For sure.
And then I also put in help to host our Student Entrepreneurship Challenge.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where our UNC students can come and present, potential ideas, win scholarships, cash prizes, as well as our e-challenge focused on high school students and hopefully coming soon, high school and UNC students, where we essentially put on a hackathon, which if you've heard of that terminology, it's very entrepreneurial. It's we get a diverse group of people who don't necessarily know each other together. And then we bring people from within business or industry that are experiencing a challenge within their space. And then we have this group basically come together, create random teams, and then rapid fire innovation over the course of, a couple hours, solutions. They hack solutions to solve those challenges.
Wow. I'm excited for that. It's going to be cool. Yeah.
I was really pumped. We gave, I think about, we just did this a couple of weeks ago. We gave, I think, $25,000 in scholarships away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that's definitely encouraging.
yeah.
To, see that there's efforts being made to encourage that entrepreneurial environment. So, yeah.
I hope so. We're working on it.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's definitely very inspiring. And we just thank you, for spending time to talk with us today. Is there anything you'd like to shout out? Any social media, websites?
Just thank you for having me. I don't think I have too much, thank you. And this has been a lot of fun. So I really appreciate you having me in.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely, great opportunity to speak with an entrepreneur that has so much experience in this. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time today. We really enjoyed this conversation. And for all of our listeners, stay tuned. Thank you for listening. And Rachel, thanks again. We really appreciate your time today.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
We'll see you next time on the Cash Flow Project.
Woo!
Yay!